Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining in another week. We have a great show planned for you this week. Later on, I'll have with me CJ Goodwin, a defensive back with the Dallas Cowboys. We'll be talking all about this year's Super Bowl and a little bit of breakdown and what to expect from the quarterbacks. But first, we'll start with some of our usual features. And I want to start off talking about the West Virginia legislature. It seems as though the West Virginia State Senate is perhaps prepared to start a war with educational personnel in the state of West Virginia for the second year in a row. You know, some strange things going on down there in the legislature. Of course, last year the work stoppage occurred, and over a multi-week period, leading to a lot of changes. You know, some people being voted out, but the Republicans still in control in both the Senate and the House. But maybe a little bit upset about, you know, the work stoppage last year and some of the changes that occurred as a result of the election in November, and now taking some procedural steps that haven't been done since the 1960s in West Virginia. We're talking about the Omnibus Education Bill, and this bill originated out of the Senate Education Committee and normally would next go to the Senate Finance Committee, where they could review the cost of it and there'd be a fiscal note, things of that nature, but that didn't happen. Instead of it being referred to Senate Finance, it was bypassed and went straight to the full Senate, to what's called the Committee of the Whole, something that hasn't been used since, I think, 1961 in West Virginia. I think only twice in West Virginia's history has this procedure been used, and a lot of folks not happy about it, especially a lot of folks in education, because what this bill does is create a lot of things that are problematic for public education in West Virginia, including charter schools and privatizing schools and things of that nature, you know, making it harder to unionize, making things like the work stoppage last year much more difficult. And so teachers and school service personnel are not happy about this at all. And to be quite frank, it could lead to another work stoppage again this year. Some of the teachers in the southern part of the state, particularly Mingo County, have already been talking about it, and others as well. So this is something we'll have to keep our eye on. I would encourage you to follow the Facebook pages of local legislators. We have some legislators here in the local area that do a really good job of keeping people informed through social media. Bill Ehlenfeld, state senator here for the 1st District, does that. Sean Fluharty does it. Lisa Zukoff does it. Randy Swartzmiller does it. These are all folks you can follow their social media, and they really do, like I said, a good job of keeping you up to date on what's going on in Charleston and what you may be want to look out for. And if you see something that you don't think you agree with, you know, their email addresses, you can find them on the internet. You email your legislator and say, hey, this has got to stop. This isn't the way it should be. Email some other legislator. Email the Senate President. Email the Speaker of the House. You know, take action. You can do that as citizens, and it can have an effect. So, you know, I think the citizens of the state already spoke to a degree in last November's election, but of course, a lot of those senators that are taking this action weren't up for election last year. Only half the Senate is up every 2 years, then the other half is up the next 2 years. So, not all of them were up, and they won't all be up again this time, but the ones that weren't up last time will be up again in 2020. So keep an eye on who's doing what. I'm going to give a legal tip as well this week. And that's, don't wait to get a lawyer for this reason. Surveillance video can disappear, and this is particularly true, not necessarily with the person or the company that caused the wrong, but just video that happens to be nearby. I saw this recently in a case that my firm's dealing with, and fortunately we were able to get on it right away because the person hired a lawyer right away, but we represent a pedestrian who was walking through a parking lot and was struck by a vehicle, and it just so happens there were a number of local businesses nearby, including a bank and some other businesses that have security cameras. So we were able to write to those other businesses and say, hey, did any of your security cameras happen to catch video of our client being struck by this vehicle? And, you know, if the client had waited, you know, a couple weeks, a month, whatever even, to contact us, that video would have been long gone. I mean, that bank had no reason to keep its video surveillance footage. It wasn't broken into that day or anything. And those tapes, you know, go right over top of one another after a while. But if you get to them quick enough while it's still there, they may not realize that this accident happened. They probably don't. But if you say, hey, on this date and time something happened, can we take a look at your security cameras, or can you take a look to see if it captured this, then you can oftentimes preserve that evidence, and it can be very critical in demonstrating what happened with respect to that particular incident. So one of the reasons that you want to contact a lawyer right away is that so those things can be done and that evidence can be preserved. Turning to a quote this week, and given our guest this week, I thought this one was particularly appropriate. This comes from Bob Schieffer, longtime journalist, CBS News correspondent. And he said, "The truth is the Super Bowl long ago became more than just a football game. It's part of our culture, like turkey at Thanksgiving and lights at Christmas. and like those holidays beyond their meaning, a factor in our economy. I think there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, the Super Bowl has become much more than a football game. I'm a football guy. I coached football for a number of years. I played it. I just love football, so I would watch it no matter what. But there are so many people that don't watch a football game all year long, but they watch the Super Bowl. They may watch it because they want to see the commercials. They may watch it because they want to see the halftime show. They may watch it just because they like all of the pomp and circumstance around it. They may like it just they like to go to the Super Bowl parties. But it really has become a big part of American culture. I mean, Super Bowl Sunday is a big deal, not just for the football, but for all the things surrounding it. But I hope that one thing that everybody remembers is that when you're getting together, be safe, do it in a safe manner. Take a cab, call a friend if you've had a little too much to drink, because I don't want to see anybody get hurt on Super Bowl Sunday, whether it be on the field or off the field with just fans or people watching the game. So enjoy it, have fun, but be safe when you do it. We need to take a break. When we come back, I'll have with me my guest this week, CJ Goodwin, defensive back for the Dallas Cowboys. We'll be talking all about the big game. Stay with us here on the Jamie Bordas Show.
When reviewing your oil and gas offers or royalty check statements, do you wonder, am I being offered a fair amount? Do I feel comfortable reading the statement? Do I have peace of mind? If you answered no to these questions, you need Bordas Mineral Management. Our passion is helping mineral owners protect and expand their mineral wealth. Our examiners tell you whether you're being treated fairly and getting paid what is rightfully yours. Bordas Mineral Management. Be protected. Have peace of mind.
Recommended by the highest authorities. Danoon Lumber.
It's like a bad one's coming. Yeah. Right?
Welcome back to the show. This is my favorite time each week when I have a guest with me, and this week's no different. I have with me Wheeling native and current Dallas Cowboys defensive back, CJ Goodwin. CJ, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Dallas Cowboys, America's team, been known as for so many years, and you're a part of that team. Got to be pretty cool.
It is, man. I grew up a Dallas Cowboys fan. My whole family is Dallas Cowboys fans, so I'm kind of in the perfect position for me and my family.
That makes it even better. A team you rooted for your whole life, you get to be a part of that team. That'd be pretty special, and also a pretty good team that you were a part of this year. The Cowboys, made a playoff run, of course. Knocked out by the Los Angeles Rams, who are now going to be playing in the Super Bowl, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on. But just to make it to the NFL, you started off here in Wheeling, member of teams like the Little Patriots that
Right.
I coach now, my son plays for, so you get kids like that, and they think, man, maybe I can make it too.
No, you can. Yeah, that's the blessing of it is coming from here, coming from the Little Patriots, going to the public schools, going to Lindsley, going to college, never really thinking that you were going to make it to the NFL. And once I decided that I wanted to do that, I did that, and I put the work in. I did that, and so why can't anybody else?
Yeah, speaking of the Super Bowl we were talking about, you had an opportunity to play in the Super Bowl 2 years ago as a member of the Atlanta Falcons. Played the New England Patriots. Of course, a disappointing loss. Patriots came from way behind to win the game. Tom Brady's done that a number of times in his career and did it again that day. But you got to really be a part of that game. Had a couple tackles and made some plays there, and it had to be pretty cool being a part of that.
It definitely was. It was an unforgettable experience. That's something that you dream of. Like when I was playing for the Little Patriots, I always dreamed of winning the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, they didn't come true at the time. But just to play in it, your life changes like that instant. As soon as we won the NFC Championship, I feel like my life just changed. I was getting pulled in different directions by the media, and I was never a media guy. I was a special teams guy. And once we won the NFC Championship, it was just like a whirlwind of things happening. And my life would hopefully never be the same. It's on the better things.
What are those 2 weeks like? It's a little different than other games, of course, during the course of the season, in that you do have 2 weeks as opposed to just 1 week. But you're getting ready for the biggest game you've ever been a part of in your life, and yet you do have all those other distractions and stuff. What's it like for the players? What are the Rams, the Patriots going through these past couple of weeks?
The A whole bunch of stuff, honestly. The first week, they try to keep it as normal as possible. Well, for us, they did. They try to keep the practices short. They tried to keep us out of the limelight and just focus on you and your family. The second week is that's when we went to Houston. So now they're in Atlanta, but we went to Houston and we got the practice, and the practice was like kind of the last things on our mind. We had media day. We had there were so many things going on that there were parties and all that. I mean, we weren't like in the parties acting crazy, but you know, we went to dinner, went to parties and all that. It was just so much going on that you had to really focus on focusing. Like it was kind of a big thing, but it was fun. It definitely was fun.
You know, let's talk a little bit about these quarterbacks in the game. You know, as a defensive back, you know, you have to prepare for these quarterbacks, and you know, of course, you're a big special teams guy as well. But you know, when you're getting ready for a Tom Brady, you know, a guy that's been doing it for so long. You know, he's 41 years old now. This is his 9th Super Bowl he's been to. You know, a master really at going up to the line of scrimmage and seeing what the defense is going to give him and trying to adjust based upon that. You know, what do you do as a defensive back to try to say, okay, let's try to trick a guy like Tom Brady and, you know, and disguise what we're doing a little bit?
You're not going to trick him. I'm not going to lie to you. We didn't even try to trick him. You're not going to. He's that smart. He thinks ahead of you. You just have to outplay your opponent. You gotta. We were trying to put a lot of pressure on him, get him moving around in the pocket because he knows he's not that good of an athlete, but he's that good of a football player at that age that he's going to just pick you apart. So you got to pick your poison. He's the greatest quarterback ever.
You know, you mentioned, you know, getting pressure. As a defensive back, you know, how helpful is it to you when, you know, the defensive line's able to get pressure on the quarterback, the ball maybe doesn't come out quite on time or when he wants to? What kind of difference does that make?
We all work together. We can't work without them. They're the most important players to us because they apply that pressure to make the ball come out quicker. That makes our job that much easier. Imagine guarding somebody one-on-one for 5 seconds. You're going to lose. So with that pressure, the quarterback has to throw it faster. He has to throw it off point. And I mean, they're a godsend to us.
Let's turn the tables to the Rams quarterback, Jared Goff. Of course, the Cowboys, you just played the Rams a few weeks ago in the playoffs. You know, didn't come out on top in that game, unfortunately. But the difference is in preparing for a Tom Brady who's so experienced, and then Jared Goff who's doing a great job early in his career, but is far less experienced than Tom Brady. He
has so many weapons that it doesn't really, I mean, it matters. Of course it matters, the experience. But he has so many different weapons from the receivers, from one of the best running backs in the game, that and the coordinator, the head coach is so good too. So it's definitely going to be a great game because those guys have the firepower on that team. The star power on that team is outrageous.
You know, as a defensive back, you have to guard different types of guys. You know, and one of the things you see with the New England Patriots, sometimes they'll split Rob Gronkowski out wide. You know, now you got this guy who's, you know, a giant basically out there wide that you got to contend with, as opposed to say a Brandon Cooks for the Rams who's got 4.3 speed and is going to run right past you. What's the difference between when when you're guarding a Rob Gronkowski versus say a Brandon Cooks?
Like you said, the speed for one, but hopefully the coaches put you in the best position to win. If I'm a fast guy, if I'm a fast small corner, I'm gonna guard the fast small guy. If I'm a big corner, I'm gonna guard the big guy. So that's what we did when I was with Atlanta. They put us in the best position. So I was more of a fourth corner. They would put me out when they ran the down series, when they went 5 wide, whatever, or they put a running back in there that didn't run the ball, but he was a pass running back. So that's what they put us in the best position. I'm sure that's what both coaches are thinking in the Super Bowl this year.
We need to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue talking a little bit about the Super Bowl. We'll talk a little bit about CJ's career and a little bit other things with the NFL. Stay with us here on the Jamie Bordas Show.
You earned it. Let us help you save it. Belmont Savings Bank, focused on your future.
So, how was your first day?
Long. So, Josh asked me about you.
Daddy's home. Go get him.
For your home, for your life, for more than 50 years. The Hardwood Specialists. DeNoon Lumber.
Welcome back to the show. I've been speaking with my guest this week, Dallas Cowboys defensive back C.J. Goodwin, Wheeling native, who, we were talking a little bit about the matchup this year, difference between the Patriots, the Rams. You mentioned all those weapons, and that's one of the things that makes it so hard to make it to the NFL and to stay there. I mean, it's you're talking about 53 guys on a roster at any given time, and you got to have so many quarterbacks, you got to have so many linemen, you got to have so many kickers, all this type of stuff. So there's just really not a lot of room to make it. There's not a ton of backups or anything like that. So hard to catch on, but you've been able to do that. And this year maybe was a little bit harder than others. You went through some practice squad teams and ended up on the Bengals practice squad for a lot of the year, and but then the Cowboys see. And how's that come to be? I mean, that you're on the Bengals practice squad, and then you end up all of a sudden the next day you're on the Dallas Cowboys.
I had decent film, special teams film at that, from when I was with Falcons. I had good special teams film, so that film lives for you, and that film speaks for me. So when I was on the Bengals practice squad, I was one play away from getting moved up. I was the first guy. They said that they were going to move up if something happened to somebody else. It was just they didn't think I was ready for that team at corner, and they played everybody on their corner position at corner. So I understand it, and I got a call from the Dallas Cowboys, I think week 5 or 6, and they said they were signing me to their 53-man roster. And I played 2 games, got hurt, and they liked me so much that they brought me back off IR week 17, and I played week 17, 18, and 19.
That's got to be a big confidence boost. You come to a new team, a couple games in, you break your arm, and then all of a sudden they're still going to keep you around and say, hey, when you're healthy, we want you right back, and they did. They reactivate you, and even we're talking about a team that's making a playoff run. So got to speak well for you for your opportunities for next year.
Yeah, it does. I mean, either way, I always thought that I'm pretty sure we'll work out there next year because I've heard already, and I know the type of player I am, and I know the work I'm gonna put in. But even if it doesn't work, I'll be fine. I'll be somewhere else, just like I say every year.
Yeah, one of the things that I always wonder about when a player goes from one team to another, like you've had to do, is the terminology. I mean, how similar is it from team to team, or how different is it that you have to learn new stuff?
It's similar because football is football, but like you said, the terminology, the way they call something, or what they call something is different, which you just got to learn that very quickly and just play. Like I said, I play a lot of special teams, so a lot is just running and hitting and just want to, and I have that want to, so I can play anywhere.
Speaking of that want to, one of the things you've tried to do is give back. This past summer in Wheeling, you had a camp honoring the late Perry Galloway, and got to be great to be able to do that with respect to a family member, and then be able to benefit kids in the meantime.
Yeah. I mean, it is. That's my dad. I was raised that way. He was always in the community. He always wanted to give back to his community, and I just was raised that way. The thought never crossed my mind not to do it.
What'd you see? When you're out there, it was a hot day, but you're out there with all these kids, at the turf field in East Wheeling, and they're out there trying to learn from you. I mean, what'd you see from the kids?
They were having a blast, man. It was hot. It was high 90s actually, but they were having a blast. Of course we had water and food for them and all that, but they were having a blast. They keep asking, am I going to have it again this year? And I definitely am. Just how much fun they had and support I got from everybody. It was just a wonderful thing.
I know a lot of the Little Patriots kids thought it was really cool because you have started in the Little Patriots like they were, and then being in the NFL, and they really enjoyed it. And speaking of little kids, I've got a son who's 7, and believe it or not, he's one of those odd combinations of a Steelers fan and a Cowboys fan. He's both. He's got an AFC team and an NFC team, and he asked me if I would bring this. This is in his room, and he said, I told him you were going to be on the show, and he wanted to know if you maybe sign the
Oh,
helmet
for
for
sure,
him.
man. I love
That'd
it.
be
I love
great.
it.
If you maybe sign that for him, he'd
for
appreciate
sure.
that. His name's Luke. So he-
Okay. I appreciate it.
This year will be his
go.
first year playing tackle football, so
Oh,
I really
yeah,
like
he's
that.
gonna love it. He's
only
definitely
been
gonna
able
love
to play
it.
flag up until now. So, well, I can't let you get out of here without asking you for a prediction for this weekend's game. You know, we got the Patriots, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, their 9th Super Bowl, going against the Rams, young coach and Sean McVay, young players, you know, with a lot of star power, and Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, and others. You know, what do you see from the outcome, having seen these teams in the past?
I just can't see Brady losing 2 in a row. I can't see it. He's that good. That team, well, that coach is that good. And I can't see Brady losing 2 in a row, even though I love to hate him because he beat us. I got to go with the Patriots.
All right, there you go. There's your pick. CJ, really wish you well, you know, in the upcoming months, the upcoming season, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be here talking to me so our viewers can hear a little bit about some of the insight there with the NFL.
Thank you. Thank you
Thanks
for
for
having
being
me.
here. Appreciate it. We need to take a break. When we come back, I'll be talking a little bit more sports. Stay with us here on the Jamie Bordas Show. People in nursing homes are some of the most vulnerable members of our society. They're there because they can't take care of themselves. Those facilities have a duty to take care of our loved ones, and when they don't, it's important they're held accountable. We've not only collected record results against negligent nursing homes, but more importantly, we've helped so many families get the answers and closure they so badly needed.
Bordas and Bordas, fighting for justice.
We're Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration, and we're gonna save you. We've got it down to a science, an absolute state of art. We do it all, restoration, cleaning, and reconstruction. When disaster strikes, just pick up the phone. We're Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration, and we're gonna save you.
Welcome back to the show. It's time to talk sports, or a little more sports, that is. And I'll give you a little smorgasbord of sports today, talk about several different sports. And start off with just mentioning hockey. You know, Sidney Crosby, the Pittsburgh Penguins, recently named MVP of the NHL All-Star Game. And, you know, he's been doing it so well for so long. You know, came into the league known as Sid the Kid. Now he's kind of like Sid the old guy almost, even though he's not that old, but he's just been around for so long. But, you know, I really think the Penguins, you know, have a shot this year. You know, they didn't maybe come into the year as one of the favorites like they have maybe in years past, but I think they could put together a really good run. So, you know, as we head into February and the later months of the season, it'll be really interesting to see what type of second half the Penguins can put together and whether they can make a run at another Stanley Cup. You only have so many chances and so many opportunities, and when you've got stars like Crosby and Malkin, you know, you got to get it done in the years where you've got those guys that can still play at a high level. So we'll keep an eye on that. Turning to another sport, basketball. I mean, WVU basketball just continues to struggle. You know, have a game against Oklahoma on Saturday at the Coliseum in Morgantown. You know, had a big win over Kansas, but then just kind of, you know, a couple duds again. And it's hard to say what the Mountaineers' season is going to be, but it's not going to be a good one. And what they got to hope at this point is that they can maybe turn it into something for down the road and maybe find some guard play toward next year. Maybe Kanate he may be coming back soon, and that inside presence would really help. But a disappointing year for the Mountaineers, but some good basketball here in the Ohio Valley this year, particularly the West Liberty University men and women both having good seasons, a lot of fun to watch. They both play, you know, high-paced action, a lot of scoring. Kyle Cooper, the women's coach, was on this show about a month or two ago, and it was fun to talk to him. And some of the local high school teams are really doing well too. But Wheeling Park, both boys and the girls, are having good seasons, ranked statewide, and doing a great job. And I really enjoy that because I see some of those kids out at the Y during the off season, even during the season after practice is over, going out there and shooting some more, getting in some work. And to see that those types of things pay off for those kids, you know, really makes me happy to see it. And a lot of kids now even working with personal trainers. People say, this personal trainer stuff, we didn't do that back in the day. what do you think of that? And I say, you know what, good. It's better than them being at home playing video games or out on the streets causing trouble or something. Whatever kids are doing to be active and stay out of trouble and to do something physical and positive, that's a good thing as far as I'm concerned. And speaking of the YMCA, I've talked about the college, the high school level. There are over 60 teams participating in the YMCA winter basketball leagues from grades kindergarten through 6, boys and girls, and that's a record number of teams there. So good to see so many kids involved in the sport of basketball this winter here in the Ohio Valley. Turning the table to another sport, golf, Tiger Woods made his 2019 debut at Torrey Pines, finished 20th, struggled a little bit with the putter. Justin Rose, last year's FedEx Cup playoff champion, won that event. But a new rule this year that I didn't really appreciate until I was watching the event a little bit, you can putt with the flag stick in now. It used to be, your caddy could tend it in certain places and pull it. Now you can leave the flag stick in, which can help. You get a fast running putt that hits the stick, it can slow it down and keep it from running on by. So that'll be something interesting to watch as this golf season goes on. But Tiger Woods is gearing up for April, he said. The Masters is always his first goal of the year, so that'll be interesting to watch. But let's turn to the big event this week, and that's the Super Bowl. We've already talked a little bit about that with C.J. Goodwin, but here's my take. The Rams and Patriots, the Rams much more inexperienced, but all that offensive power. Sean McVay, though, first time as a head coach on this big stage. Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, and others also really haven't been on this type of stage before. They're going up against perhaps the most successful, certainly, and perhaps the greatest head coach and quarterback combination in the history of the NFL, and Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. 9th Super Bowl for both of them. 5-3 in those games. Really, they could be 8-0. They also could have lost some of the games they won, of course, including that win against the Falcons a couple years ago. But, chance for Tom Brady to become the first player to win 6 Super Bowls. I think they get it done. I think much like C.J. Goodwin said earlier, I just don't see Tom Brady losing 2 Super Bowls in a row. I think too much experience when the game's on the line, find a way to get it done. And Tom Brady won't retire, by the way. I mean, he said he has a goal to play till age 45. He's only 41 now. He'll be 42 when next season starts. He said this week there's 0 chance that he'll retire after this season. But, he set just about every record there is. Not too bad for a 6th-round draft pick out of Michigan. But I will take the Patriots to win this game. And I think that field goal kicking could make a difference, too. And I think the Patriots will find a way to make some, 3rd down and 4th down conversions, get the ball into field goal range and maybe get some scoring in there. Interesting, the Rams were 2nd in total offense in the league. But only 20th in scoring offense. A little bit unusual. A lot of yardage, but not always a lot of points. So I'm going to go with the Patriots in this one. I think they'll get it done. And Maroon 5, the halftime show, for those that are interested in the halftime show, a lot of talk about that. Some people happy about that choice, some not so happy. But the ladies seem to like them for whatever that's worth. So I'm looking forward to seeing a great weekend, a lot of games, a lot of commercials, and a lot of fun. I hope that you all enjoyed this show. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again next time on The Jamie Bordas Show.